People think loneliness is quiet. It's not. It's loud. It's the clink of a spoon against an empty cup, the echo of your own footsteps in a hallway no one else walks down. It's the sound of your own voice, saying, "I'm fine," when no one's really asked. I pressed the doorbell and waited nothing. I knocked firmer this time, still nothing. A sigh slipped out before I could stop it. I already regretted coming. 2 months, 2 whole months without rent. That wasn't like her. Angela was punctual, polite, uncomplicated, the kind of tenant you almost forgot existed. Until the rent stopped coming. Had she moved out, skipped town? Was she even okay? I raised my hand again, about to knock harder. Click, the door cracked open, slow. But the person standing there wasn't Angela. He was young, tall, broad-shouldered, his skin deep brown, smooth like polished cedar, his jaw sharp, lips slightly parted as if I'd woken him. His hair was thick, tousled, like fingers had just run through it. And I stared, too long. I knew it. He knew it. That crooked smirk on his lips said so. "You're not Angela," I managed. He leaned against the doorframe, arms folded. "Nope." I waited. He didn't elaborate, just looked at me with eyes like dark water, still, bottomless. Something in my stomach tightened. Not fear, not quite. "I'm looking for the woman who rents this place," I said. "Where is she?" He tilted his head, studying me, then, without a word, he stepped back and opened the door wider. "Come inside." It wasn't a question. Against all better judgment, I stepped in. The apartment was dim, the air thick with the scent of antiseptic, and something warmer like blankets that hadn't been moved in days. And there she was, Angela, pale, frail, sunken into the mattress like she'd become part of it, her eyes fluttered open. "Ms. Ellis," her voice rasped. "I'm so sorry about the rent. I meant to, don't." I cut her off, lifting a hand. "Worry about that now. You should be resting." She doesn't listen. The man, Micah, he later introduced himself, spoke under his breath. I looked at him again. He was closer now, stronger up close. That same quiet magnetism, like the air moved differently around him. "My mom's been sick," he said. "I came to help her." But he rubbed the back of his neck. "No insurance. Everything going to her meds." He didn't need to finish. I got it normally. This would have been a problem. I wasn't running a charity. I ran numbers, on time or out. That's how I survived. But I heard myself saying something that felt foreign, even as it left my mouth. "Forget the rent. Just focus on her. If there's anything I can do, ask." Micah looked at me, really looked. And in that moment, something shifted in the air. He didn't thank me, didn't smile, but his shoulders dropped, like I'd taken something off of them. And for one stupid second, I thought he might hug me. Instead, I patted his arm, mistake. It was solid, warm, too warm. I yanked my hand back like I'd touched a stove. Well, take care of her," I stammered, and I left fast. By the time I got to my car, my heart was racing. What the hell was that? I wasn't kind. I wasn't soft. And I definitely didn't react like that to someone just because they had good shoulders. but something about him felt like a crack forming in a place I'd sealed shut years ago. And worse, halfway down the block, I turned the car around. People think strength means not needing anyone, but sometimes strength is pretending you're not waiting for someone to knock on your door. The street was quiet, the sun sharp, the kind that bleached everything into silence. I stood in front of the apartment, already regretting every step that brought me here. I rang the doorbell. Nothing. I knocked. Harder this time. Still nothing. Angela Ellis, tenant in Unit 5B Neat Private. Always paid rent on the first, never late. Until 2 months ago now, radio silence. I wasn't the sentimental type. I managed 3 properties and liked things predictable: contracts, deposits, deadlines. But this felt different. Something wasn't right. I raised my fist again, knock or leave. When the lock clicked, the door creaked open. And standing there wasn't Angela. It was a man, young, early 20s maybe, broad-shouldered, t-shirt clinging in the wrong places. The right ones. Skin a smooth, earthy brown. His jaw sharp, eyes dark, quiet, observant. The kind of gaze that didn't flinch. He leaned against the doorframe, barefoot, calm. I said the first thing that came to mind. "You're not Angela." He didn't blink. Nope. I cleared my throat. "Is she here?" He paused, like considering the weight of the question, then stepped back. "Come inside." It wasn't an invitation, more like a decision already made. I hesitated, then stepped in. The apartment smelled like bleach, and sweat, and illness. Curtains drawn, light filtered through a dusty layer of fabric. The silence had weight. She was on the bed. Angela, thinner than I remembered, her skin dull, her eyes sunken. When she saw me, she tried to sit up. "Ms. Ellis, I'm so sorry. I meant to pay." "No," I said, holding up a hand. "Not now." "She won't stop worrying about it," the man said behind me. He moved closer, his voice low, steady. "My name's Micah. I'm her son. She's been sick for weeks. I came when she stopped answering my calls." I nodded, glancing at her. "She didn't tell me," I murmured. "She wouldn't," he said. "Didn't want pity. But now she can't even get up some days." His jaw tightened. I could feel the weight in him. Not just muscle, responsibility. "No insurance," he added, almost as an afterthought. Whatever money she had went to prescriptions. Normally, this would be the part where I explained policy, where I reminded them of late fees, of legal notice, but my voice did something else. "I'm not worried about the rent right now, just take care of her." Micah's head turned, his gaze settled on me still, and something in it softened, like I'd said more than what the words meant. He didn't thank me, just nodded. I turned to go, reached out, habit maybe, and touched his arm. Wrong move. It was firm, warm. My palm met something steady, real. I pulled back like I'd touched flame. "Take care," I muttered. I left before I could say anything else, anything stupid. But when I sat in the car, I didn't start the engine. I just sat. My fingers still tingled. It had been a long time since I felt anything stir, not just attraction, not just concern, something in between, something deeper or dumber. I shook my head, reached for the key, then froze. If they couldn't pay, I'd need new tenants. That was the rule, always had been. So why was I turning the wheel around? Why? As the sun climbed higher and my logic screamed louder, was I walking back up those steps when the door opened this time? Micah looked surprised. You're back. I folded my arms. I have a proposition. His eyebrow lifted. Oh, I live in Biltmore, I said. Big house. Too much space. You two need a place. I need this unit rented again, so, Micah blinked. You're offering us your house. I'm not charging Biltmore rates, I added quickly. He studied me. This sounds crazy. I shrugged. Maybe it is. Silence. Then he looked over his shoulder. Angela was asleep again. Her face peaceful. He turned back. We'll take it. And that, somehow, made my chest feel like a balloon. I didn't say another word, just walked back to the car, heart pounding. I didn't understand it. I just knew. He was coming that night. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him, Micah, standing in the doorway of that too small apartment. Arms crossed. Eyes unreadable, the air around him had a kind of stillness. Heavy, magnetic. I told myself it was the heat, or the stress, or the guilt about Angela. But deep down, I knew something in me had shifted. I wasn't supposed to care. I wasn't supposed to feel. The next morning, I got up earlier than I had in years. My big house in Biltmore felt too quiet, too open, the kind of silence that reminded you how alone you really were. I started cleaning, not just tidying, deep cleaning baseboards, corners, sheets. By 8 a.m., I was reorganizing the guest rooms. One for Angela, soft light, easy access to the bathroom. One for Micah, bigger, windows facing the east garden. I paused in his room, stood in the middle, hands on hips. Then headed straight to my own bathroom. I waxed, shaved, scrubbed, exfoliated until my skin tingled. Vanilla lotion, honey mist, a touch of highlighter under the eyes. I caught my reflection in the mirror and almost laughed. What was I doing? I was nearly 60. He could be my son. No, I thought, wiping a stray drop of serum from my cheek. No, he couldn't. Not with the way he looked at me. Not with the way I felt every time he did. Still, I kept going, because some part of me had woken up, and I didn't want to put it back to sleep just yet. At 10, I called. Hey, I said, too casually. You ready? Yeah, Micah replied. Movers are here should be an hour. 60 minutes, the longest 60 of my life. I fluffed pillows, repositioned a vase on the dining table, checked the thermostat, rearranged the fruit bowl twice. At 11:03, the doorbell rang. I opened the door, breath held. And there he was, Micah, standing on my porch in a white t-shirt that clung to his chest. His skin caught the sunlight in all the wrong ways. His eyes met mine, and something in my stomach turned over. This is something else, he said, glancing behind me into the foyer. I stepped aside. Welcome home. Angela came next, in a wheelchair, bundled in a cardigan that looked too big on her now. Her face was tired, but kind. She gave me a faint smile. Micah pushed her gently. careful like she might break. Then came the movers, young men with sunburned necks and tattoos on their arms. They carried in suitcases, a table, boxes labeled with worn-out Sharpie. It wasn't much, but I wasn't looking at the boxes. I was looking at them. Micah bent to lift the table on his own, one clean motion, effortless. And I forgot how to breathe. His arms flexed. His shoulders stretched the fabric. His back was poetry written in muscle. I turned away fast. "I'll make lemonade," I muttered, heading for the kitchen. I needed something to do anything. When I came back with the tray, the movers were almost done. I handed out the drinks, smiling politely, pretending I wasn't falling apart inside. They left one by one. A clap on the shoulder for Micah. A joke I didn't catch. A final nod. Then it was just us. Micah wheeled Angela into her room, spoke to her in a voice I couldn't quite hear. Then he returned, dropped onto the living room couch like he belonged there, like this wasn't strange, like I hadn't just invited two strangers into my home. He sighed, ran a hand through his hair. His shirt clung to his skin, damp with sweat. I sat down beside him, close. Maybe too close. My fingers grazed his. He didn't move. "You don't have to worry about anything now," I said. "I've got you." He looked at me. And in that moment, there was no sound, just the space between us, full of things unsaid. I stood abruptly. "Wait here." I went to the linen closet, pulled out a fresh towel, brought it back, held it out. "Come on. Let's get you cleaned up." He blinked. "Huh, I'll show you the bathroom." I didn't wait for a response. Just walked, he followed. We stepped inside. I turned on the water. The spray hit the glass with a hiss. "Hots on the left, colds on the right," I said. He didn't answer, just watched me. The steam rose. The air thickened. I stepped back. "I'll let you freshen up." Closed the door behind me, pressed my back against it. My heart was pounding. What was I doing? What was I becoming? Minutes passed. Then the door opened, and Micah stepped out. Steam curled around him. A towel hung low around his hips, his skin damp, drops trailing down his chest. I swallowed hard. He moved quickly, embarrassed, disappearing down the hall. But in that one accidental moment, the towel slipped, and my world tilted. I didn't breathe, just stood there frozen. Then I turned, walked outside, sat on the bench under the tree. My pulse roared in my ears. I was losing control fast, and I wasn't sure I wanted it back. The house was still, too still. Angela had gone to lie down after lunch, her room dark, curtains drawn. The soft hum of an oxygen machine, the only sound behind the door. Micah wandered the living room, touching nothing, but looking at everything. The framed photographs, the old upright piano, the shelves with novels arranged more by emotion than alphabet. I stood in the kitchen, making lemonade. It wasn't the kind from a bottle. I squeezed the lemons by hand, added real sugar, ice cubes that cracked when the cold hit. I needed the distraction. I watched him from the corner of my eye. His movements were loose, deliberate. He looked at my home like it meant something, like it had stories he was curious about. I walked over and handed him a glass. "Thanks," he said, taking it, our fingers brushed. That simple touch made my pulse skip. I sipped mine, hoping he didn't notice. We drank in silence, not awkward, but charged. When he set the glass down, I cleared my throat. "There's a room I want to show you." He raised an eyebrow. "Follow me." I led him down the hall, opened a heavy wooden door. "The library." Micah stepped in slow. His eyes swept the space, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, golden light spilling from a stained glass lamp, the smell of old pages and cedar. "This is, wow," he said. "It's my favorite room," I replied, gently closing the door behind us. I walked over to the far shelf, pointing up. "See that row? I need the books down. Can't reach." He tilted his head back. "That's way up there." I smirked. "Guess you'll have to lift me." He blinked. "What?" I stepped toward him, arms crossed. "I'm not that heavy." He opened his mouth, closed it, then, hesitantly, nodded. "Okay." He moved behind me, placed his hands at my waist, my breath caught. And then, slowly, he lifted me. It wasn't just his strength. It was the heat in his palms, the steadiness, the way my body aligned with his, not by design, but inevitability. I reached for the books. Took longer than I had to. His breath was close, measured. I could feel the energy running between us, like a current. "Got them," I finally said. He lowered me, slow, careful, when my feet touched the ground. I didn't move right away. Neither did he. We stood too close. His hands still hovered near my sides. I turned, reached up, pinched his cheek. "Good boy," I teased. He laughed, half nervous, rubbing the back of his neck. I walked over to the small couch by the window, sat down, flipped through the book I'd grabbed, Delta of Venus, perfect. "I love this author," I said. Micah glanced at the title. "What's it about?" I raised an eyebrow. "Why don't I read to you?" He hesitated, then shrugged. "Sure." He sat across from me. I opened the book and began. At first, he listened like it was any other story, polite, curious. But as the words grew denser, the language more daring, something changed. His jaw tightened. His eyes darted to my face, then away. He shifted in his seat, cleared his throat. I kept reading, voice low, measured. I watched his hands. They tapped the armrest, restless, caught. He swallowed. I smiled. This was interesting. I tapped the book against my knee. "You know," I said casually, "Annie's Nin really knew how to write hunger." Micah blinked. "Hunger, not for food." He stared. I let the silence stretch, let the air fill with that charged pause. "You look like you've got something to say," I said, tilting my head. "Tell me you're shy." He laughed softly, nervous. "You just catch me off guard sometimes." "Good," I murmured. "Keeps things interesting." I stood, walked slowly to the bookshelf, ran my fingers along the spines. "Remember the story," I said, glancing over my shoulder, "where the woman told the man to close his eyes and trust her." He nodded. I turned. "Do you trust me, Micah?" His throat bobbed. Yeah." I clapped my hands gently. "Perfect, close your eyes." He did. I approached, each step deliberate. I reached out, traced a single finger down his forearm. He tensed. "So stiff," I whispered, Relax. He exhaled. I moved closer. Feels like a horror story, he muttered, lips twitching. This is literature, I smiled. You said you liked listening. He nodded. Still, eyes closed. Good, I said softly, near his ear. Then let me show you the best parts. And in that room, surrounded by words from another time, I let something in me stir, not recklessly, but with intention, because in that moment, I wasn't just reading to him, I was asking him to read me. The sky darkened early that day. Storm clouds rolled in over the Arizona hills like a slow exhale, thick and restless. It wasn't often we got rain here, not real rain. But that afternoon, the air felt charged, as if something long held back was about to break. Micah was in the sunroom when it started. The glass panes trembled softly with the wind, and outside, the trees swayed like dancers half drunk on their own rhythm. I stood by the doorway, watching him. He didn't notice me at first. His back was to me, head tilted, eyes on the sky. There was something about the stillness in his stance, not frozen, not tense, just aware, present. I love storms, I said quietly. He turned, surprised. Yeah, I nodded. They make everything feel more alive. He glanced outside, or more dangerous. Sometimes the two go together. A pause then. Come sit, he said. I did. The rain came all at once, like a confession, heavy, honest. We sat side by side on the bench, close, but not touching. Yet every drop of water on the roof felt like a drumbeat in my chest. Angela's been sleeping better, he said. I noticed. I think being here helps. I hope so. He turned toward me. What about you? What about me? Does it help? I didn't answer right away. My hands were clasped in my lap, thumbs pressing lightly together. I think I forgot what it was like, I said. To what? To have people in the house, movement, breath, sound. He watched me, and then, so gently, I felt his fingers brush against mine. Not a grip, not even a hold, just contact. Enough to change the air, enough to tilt the world. I looked down. He didn't move. I don't want to do something wrong, he said, his voice low, thick with restraint. You haven't. Then why does this feel dangerous? Because it is. And I turned my hand, laced my fingers with his. The moment expanded, slowed. Outside, the thunder rumbled inside. Something quieter trembled open. I should probably go to bed, he murmured. You could stay a little longer. He did. Minutes passed, or hours. I couldn't tell. I stood eventually, heart loud in my chest. Come with me, I said. I led him to the hallway, past the library, past the kitchen light, still humming faintly, to the guest bathroom. This shower's better than the one in your room, I said, reaching in, turning the handle. Water cascaded behind the glass, steam rising. Micah stood still, watching me, his breath shallow. This is hot, I said, testing the stream. This one's cold. He didn't respond. I stepped back. I'll let you freshen up. But I didn't leave, not yet. I looked at him, and in that gaze, all the questions we hadn't asked were answered. I walked out, closing the door softly behind me, leaning against it, eyes closed, breath held. The air felt thicker than steam. And somehow, even quieter than before, a few minutes later, I heard the latch click. The door opened. Micah stepped out, wrapped in a towel, skin damp, hair dar the morning after the rain felt too bright. The kind of brightness that made everything sharp edges of mirrors, the lines beneath your eyes, truths you didn't want to face. I stood in front of the bathroom mirror and stared. I had done everything right. Skin still smooth for my age, hair touched up last week, clothes flattering but not desperate. And yet, I pressed a fingertip under one eye. There it was, the small shadow of a life lived too long without being truly seen. I splashed cold water on my face and dried it off with a towel that smelled faintly of lavender. Down the hallway, I heard voices, a low murmur, then a laugh. I stepped out slowly. Angela was sitting upright in her chair, a blanket over her knees, a book in her lap. Micah knelt beside her, tucking the corner of the quilt. He looked up and saw me. Something in his expression shifted, softened, then masked again. I smiled, small, polite. He nodded back. The day moved forward, but I didn't, not really. I walked through rooms like a stranger in my own life. Everywhere I turned, I caught echoes. His towel still hanging by the guest bath. A faint footprint in the hallway tile. The scent of soap mine. Not his, lingering where it shouldn't. That afternoon, I sat in the living room sorting through unopened mail when I heard the front door open and close. Micah had stepped out for groceries earlier. I expected him back. What I didn't expect was the sound of another voice. A woman, young. I looked up through the arched entryway and saw her mid-20s, light brown curls. A clipboard in hand, she wore scrubs. Blue Micah followed behind her, holding the door. "I appreciate you coming," he said, "of course." She smiled. They disappeared into Angela's room. I sat there, frozen. I knew what this was. A home health aide, temporary, professional, still. Something sharp moved behind my ribs. I hadn't felt it in years, not jealousy. Insecurity. Minutes later, the girl emerged, offered me a kind smile, then left. Micah walked past me on his way to the kitchen. "I didn't know you were hiring help," I said, too evenly. He paused. "Just for a few days. I need to get some work hours in." "Work?" He grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge. "I took a few small jobs, construction stuff, just mornings." "I see." He turned. "You okay?" I opened my mouth, then closed it. "I don't know," I admitted. He leaned against the counter, said nothing. But he didn't leave. That night, I didn't sleep well. Every creak of the house felt louder. Every memory of the past week replayed in full color. The towel, the silence, the way I hadn't moved when I should have. Around 3 a.m., I got up, poured a glass of wine. I didn't drink, stared out the window at the empty street. I thought of my husband, of what it had felt like when he stopped seeing me. Then I thought of Micah, and how I had seen him too clearly, or maybe not enough. I set the glass down untouched and walked back to bed. But my heart didn't quiet. It only beat louder. It rained again that night, not hard, just enough to make the windows whisper and the lights flicker low. the kind of rain that softened everything, the edges of the world, the weight of silence. I was in the kitchen, fingers curled around a warm mug, when Micah stepped in. He didn't say anything at first, just leaned against the counter, hair damp, shirt clinging slightly at the collar. His eyes met mine, and for a moment, we stood in that quiet, both of us pretending not to notice how close the air had gotten. "Sleep?" I asked. He shook his head. "Too much in my head," he said. "And the rain," I nodded. "It brings things up." We drifted toward the living room without deciding to, like the room called us, like we were meant to be pulled into that space together. I turned on a lamp. Low light filled the room. He sat on the couch. I followed. We didn't speak for a while, just sat, listening, the rhythm of water tapping glass, the subtle hum of the walls settling, the beat of something else beneath all of it. "I used to love nights like this," I said. Micah turned toward me, eyes calm but waiting. "They felt like permission," I continued, "to feel things I didn't have time for during the day." He tilted his head. "Like what?" I glanced at him. "Loneliness." He didn't laugh, didn't flinch, just nodded. "I know that one," he said. "Feels like an echo some nights." I looked down at my hands. They were still. Too still. "I didn't plan for this," I said softly. "Neither did I." The words hung between us. He shifted slightly, not closer, but not away. His voice came low. "Sometimes I don't know how to be in a place where people care." I looked up at him. He wasn't avoiding my eyes. He was offering something, not words, not promises, just a part of himself. "I don't know how to stop caring," I whispered. He exhaled, slow. The silence wasn't awkward, it was full. Then he moved, not fast, not hesitant, just sure. His hand found mine, no flourish, no question, our palms pressed together, quiet and steady. And something inside me, something buried, stirred. I looked at our hands. "I don't want to ruin this," I said. "You won't." "I might, still here." I turned to him, and for the first time in years, I let someone see all of me without performance, without armor, just me. The room didn't change, but I did later when he stood to go. I didn't stop him, but I didn't look away either. And just before he disappeared down the hall, I said it not loud, not a command, just a breath wrapped in truth. "Go to your room tonight." He paused, looked back, and everything in that look said yes. We didn't sleep much that night. We talked, not about anything earth-shattering, not about the future or what we were becoming, just talked. He told me about his childhood in Oakland, the street that always smelled like jasmine and engine oil, the grandmother who raised him with sharp eyes and warm hands. I told him about my first apartment, the one with no air conditioning, where I danced barefoot to jazz records on Friday nights because no one was watching. He smiled at that, said he could see it, said he would have liked to be there. The lights stayed low. Our voices stayed soft, somewhere between conversation and confession. And when his head finally rested near mine, close enough that I could feel his breath, I didn't pull away. I didn't want to. There was no kiss, no touch that broke the moment. just stillness, and the kind of warmth that felt earned, the kind that had waited patiently beneath layers of silence and doubt and years. We drifted together, not lovers, not quite strangers, something else. When I opened my eyes again, the sun was already pressing against the blinds. I sat up slowly, blinked away the fog. Micah was gone. The space beside me still held the shape of him, the faint warmth where he'd been. I rose quietly, padded down the hallway barefoot. His bedroom door was closed. Angela's door, too. I started toward the kitchen when I heard it, a voice, her voice, low, steady. I paused just outside Angela's room. "You think this is wise," she was saying. Micah's reply was softer. I couldn't make out the words. "Caroline is kind," she said, "but kindness isn't the same as love." I felt something twist inside me, a slow turning. I stepped away before I heard more, retreated to my room, sat on the edge of the bed, suddenly unsure of where to place my hands, my breath. Of course, Angela would question it. She had every right to. I had taken them in, fed them, offered sanctuary. And now, I was more than just a roof, more than just a name on the lease. But I didn't know what I was. I thought about knocking, about telling her what last night was and wasn't. But I didn't, because even I didn't know. I spent the rest of the morning moving through the house like a ghost, avoiding eye contact, avoiding my own reflection. Micah didn't seek me out. Neither did she. The house, once full of low music and soft laughter, felt like it was holding its breath. By late afternoon, I couldn't take it anymore. I scribbled a note, went for a drive, be back later, left it on the counter, and walked out the door like it wasn't closing behind me. The air was dry, the sun too bright. I got in the car and drove without knowing where I was going. Just away from the questions I wasn't ready to answer, from the feeling that maybe I'd crossed a line I couldn't uncross, and from the look in Angela's eyes I hadn't even seen, but could feel like a shadow, long and certain. I didn't know where to go, so I kept driving. I drove until the city blurred behind me. No destination, just road. The desert opened up around me like a confession, wide, bare, unafraid to be exposed. The sky stretched out in every direction, and for a moment, I felt small in a way that wasn't entirely unwelcome. I parked at an old rest stop, the kind with faded signs and vending machines that never worked. The sun hung low, casting everything in gold. I sat on the hood of my car, closed my eyes, breathed. I thought about the last time I had done something reckless, real reckless, not missing a payment, not skipping a meeting, but something that put my heart at risk. And I couldn't remember, not since before the divorce, not since the years spent rebuilding, not just finances, but the shape of myself. Micah wasn't a plan. He wasn't a decision. He was a feeling. And I didn't know if I had the right to chase that anymore. I stayed there until dusk, until the heat softened and the silence settled deep. When I finally returned home, the house was quiet, too quiet. There was a note on the counter. Caroline went to check in on a neighbor for Mom. Be back in a bit, Micah. Underneath, it was another note. Different handwriting, neat, careful, Angela's. Don't be afraid to be happy. Just because it didn't last the last time. I stood there, the paper trembling in my fingers. She knew. Maybe she had always known. I walked into the library, sat down slowly. The lamp still had that soft glow, casting shadows onto the spines of books older than Micah, older than me. I thought about the look in his eyes, not when he first arrived, but the last time we sat here, with words between us instead of silence. The way his hand found mine, not like a boy reaching for something new, but like a man recognizing something familiar. There was no guarantee here, no promise, just choice. And fear. I stood, walked to the hallway mirror, looked at myself, not the way I used to, searching for flaws, for proof that time had taken too much. But different. I saw the woman who'd built this life, who'd survived it, who had something left to give, even if it didn't come wrapped in certainty, even if it was wild and uneven and beautifully, terrifyingly real. I didn't wait for the door to open. I opened it first. The door creaked softly as I opened it. The house was still. That lay tower kind of still, where the walls seemed to breathe, holding everything gently in place. I stepped inside. Micah was in the kitchen. He didn't hear me at first. His back turned, sleeves rolled up, hands moving with quiet purpose. There was something on the stove, eggs maybe, toast in the rack. He was humming, nothing loud, just a soft melody, like something he hadn't realized was leaving his mouth. I leaned against the doorway and watched, not like a stranger, not like someone intruding on a life she didn't belong to, but like someone arriving home. He turned then, saw me, and something in his shoulders dropped, not in defeat, in relief. Hey, he said. Hey, I replied. I walked in. He didn't ask where I'd gone. I didn't explain. He reached for a second plate, without a word, the smell of butter and pepper. And something simple filled the space between us. Angela rolled in a few minutes later, hair brushed, eyes alert, wrapped in her usual cardigan. She looked at me, then at Micah, then back again. Coffee, she asked. I smiled. Already brewing. She gave a small nod, like she approved of something neither of us had said aloud. We ate together, no fanfare, no big conversations, just the scrape of forks, the clink of mugs, the warmth of people who had begun to settle into a rhythm that didn't require explanation. Afterward, Micah stood to clear the plates. I moved to help. Our fingers met on the rim of a dish. We both paused, then continued, like it had always been this way later, after Angela had gone back to her room and the kitchen had quieted again. I stood by the sink, drying my hands. Micah walked up beside me, not too close, but close enough. He looked at me, not with questions, not with apologies, but with presence, with choice. This okay? He asked. I didn't need to ask what he meant. I nodded. It's more than okay. We stood like that for a while, no promises, no declarations, just two people, choosing to stay. The sun climbed through the blinds, brushing light across the tile. I turned to him and smiled. "Welcome home," I said. He smiled back. And for the first time in years, it felt like the words belonged.